Are they getting it also online?
Who's that?
The clever people? Are you
No, but
online?
nobody's on. Nobody's on. Nobody came in. But it'll be recorded. I'm a bit listen to it later. So on Daf Nun Beis of Aleph, Shedra Golas. So really, is that good? Is the
Yeah.
yeah. So the sugya. The sugya really has nothing to do with nazir. It has to do with the Masechah Solis. But again, there's no Gemara in Masechah Solis. There's no Gemara, so it takes the opportunity to talk about it wherever it could about Taurus. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just giving it a band like in the olden days, like with the candy machine. But usually it doesn't work anymore nowadays. Give it a kick. But okay, we'll try. Okay. So it said in the Mishnah the things that are Tumas Ohel. And how to hold this of things that are Tami Bowl. And instead of Nazir, if he comes Tami, so he's gonna have to be Megalech. He's Megalech, he has to stop his Naziros. So it said Ashedra Bagugolas. Amongst the things that are Tami Bowl was the spine and the skull. It's the bone, right? It's not any of the. It's not the whole mace. But it says that that's enough to make Tumas Oil. Other bones, it says it has to have a robot somewhere. So a chatzi kav, it has to have a considerable amount of bone matter in order to be Tami Boil. It has to be, like we said, the volume of 12 eggs. So the whole sugya today is going to be about Shedra V'Gagolas, and it's one question, and we're going to try to find an answer. Just to give a preview, we're not going to find an answer. It's going to come out that the Gemara doesn't know. And the question is, when it says Shedra V'Gagolas, does it mean and, or does it mean or? Does it have to have both of them in order to become tamei, the spine, and also the skull, both of them together? It's a unit,
right? And
together they're going to have Tumas Ohel, but if only one of them, it's not, or it means either one. Do you read Shedra V'Gagolas? Does it mean is there a comma after the word Shedra? Shedra V'Gagolas, or I mean Shedra V'Gagolas is a unit. Shedra V'Gagolas Tanan, or Dilma O Shedra O V'Gagolas. The question: how you read the Mishnah? How you punctuate the Mishnah? And we'll leave that for the question. That's today's question. And just the Gemara's going to try to find different. Really, I should be usually pink and white in my code. The color code should be pink. That's the question. The Gemara's going to try. And here we go. It's try number one. That's a simple question, right? The question is going to be simple. In order to become Tumas Ohel, you need both of them together. If you're missing one, you don't have it, or either one alone. And the Gemara starts Amar Rav Tashma. The answer is going to be after we have everything's not going to have any answer, and it's going to be avoid the lifshut. The Rambam does pass either one alone is tamei. And the question is where he gets it from. So Tashma, Shedra Shagire Grove in Shabbat. A Shedra that they scraped off most of the ribs, means out of the spine comes out the ribs. And the word in is the targum of the word also, even as Atzela, I think it also uses that word rib. So most of the ribs are missing from the spinal.
Il is the word rib.
Right? So Torah. So that's missing the conditions you need to be a shedra. When we say shedra, we don't just mean the vertebrae, we mean also the rib that comes out of it. What am I doing wrong? I don't know where the source of the problem is. Is it disconnection or disconnection? Still not happening.
If you're knocking the screen, it must be something in the screen.
Something in the screen.
Oh.
Okay, I hope that it stays. So it says, first of all, if it's missing the ribs, so that's not the spine that we're talking about, and Tahora. We could just put this in parentheses for a second. Okay, I'm sorry.
If it's tahor, that means that it's
It doesn't meet the conditions to be a rule. So it wouldn't be Tamei Smei. It wouldn't be Tamei Mes. Last week it was good. Okay, so over Kever, just want to get Okay, I don't know what to say. It has something to do with
Connection to the
position.
wires or something.
Okay, a bit frustrating. Not to get frustrated. Try again. Okay, well, let's continue. Whatever we have, can't spend the whole time. Afterwards, it says something we don't need right now for ourselves. It says of a kever, I feel we should bear some frekas kever. And if this shedra is found in a grave, even if it is broken up, all the pieces are there, the ribs, even though it's broken, it's still tummy because the kever combines all of them together. So the first we say that it's Allah Moshe Sinai, we wouldn't be able to figure it out. That's Sfara. But if it will be the shedra without the ribs, it wouldn't be tummy. But if they're in a grave, so they are tummy. Even though the rib and the spine are disconnected, it's still tummy. We don't need that for our subject. Anyway, what does the Gemara think? It sounds like we said the shedra that doesn't have the ribs is tohar. That sounds like the shedra that does have the ribs is tummy. And it sounds that there's no skull. It doesn't know about the skull. It just says that the shedra, if it's missing the ribs, it's tohar. So you could be medayik that if it has the ribs, it's tummy. Time on Misham the Gire. The only reason why it's is because it doesn't have the ribs. Hello, Gire tummy. Isn't that a raya? Shmami, you know, oh shedra, oh golas katani. Isn't that a raya that either one is enough to become tummy? Because it says if it's missing the ribs, it's tohar. So you could be medayik if it has the ribs, it is tummy, even though it's by itself. But the Gemara says no, that's not a diak. Here's the answer. Hello, katani. The diak that he said, he said this diak. Hello, Gire. It doesn't say that. It means you're not eligible to make that diak. It doesn't say that. It's telling you that whatever you need to be a shedra, the shedra means that it has the ribs. Let's say it's only tummy if it's a shedra and the gogolas together. That could be. But it's telling you that if you're missing the ribs, and it's not called a shedra. So you can't be medayik from the fact that it says that a shedra missing the ribs is tohar. You can't be medayik that a shedra with the ribs is tummy. It could be you have to have the gogolas also. But it's just telling you have to have a shedra with gogolas. If it's missing the ribs, it's not called a shedra. So you don't give medayik anything. How come Mashman, the chigire Torah, all it's telling you is that if it doesn't have the ribs, then it's tohar. But idach tiboyla. But the other case, you have a case, you want to know that you have the shedra with the bones, with the ribs, without the gogolas. That doesn't say here. It's still a question. So the Gemara rejected this first proof. It's not a proof. Tashma, the Gemara try number 2. There are 6 things that was machlokas Rabbi Akiva and the Rabbanan about Tumas Ohel, and Rabbi Akiva was machmir, and he said that it's tamir. The Chachamim said it's tohar. We're going to see soon what they are. Because of Rabbi Akiva, and Rabbi Akiva retracted, and he also agrees to the Chachamim that it's tohar. And it brings one of the cases, which is going to be if it's broken bones. The Gemara is going to say soon what the machlokas is. All of them are going to be cases of combinations of 2 mason. That the Rabbanan say that it has to, all the times we're going to say it's tamei, it has to be from the same mace. But if it's a combination, we had a case of Revi'as Dam, that was the case we had before. Revi'as Dam, that's a combination of 2 mason. But Kiva said it's tamei, the Rabbanan said it's Torah. Most of them are going to be other. We'll see soon the enumeration of the 6 cases. Anyway, it says here a story about the bones. Well, Ma'aser Shebiu Kupa Malei Atzam was the basic Knesset Shel Tarsi, and one time they brought a box full of bones to a shul of Tarsiim. Tarsiim, they say, means either coppersmiths or maybe weaver. Different shorting of the word Tarsiim means. They brought a certain basic Knesset. They left it ba'avir. They say avir means that it didn't have a roof on top of it. They brought it into the place where there's no roof, that it shouldn't make tumas ohel. They weren't sure if it's tumas ohel or not. That was the question. The nichnas tana, they wanted to know if it caused tumor. Did it cause tumor? Is it going to cause tumas? Is it going to cause tumas oil? And it seemed to might have been a nazir over there. The question was if the nazir is going to be magalech, did he become tummy because of this box of bones? So they called in the specialists. The nichnas tudus arofe v'chol arofe mimos. So then Tudus, the doctor, Dr. Tudus, and all the doctors came in. The whole staff came in. The ones who know the skeleton structure, and they checked the bones to see if there was a complete set of bones. And the point is going to be if it was from the same mace. They were able to tell if it's from the same mace. They were able to tell from the connection of the bones. There's not even one spine that's from one mace. It's from different pieces of different mason, but it's not from the same mace. That's the Bryson. That seems to say that even that Rabbi Akiva, in the case if it would have been from two masons, so Rabbi Akiva would say that it's Tameh. The Chacham would say Torah. It will be from the same mace. Everybody knows that it will be Tameh. And since it was from two masons, that was the case of Rabbi Akiva and the Chachamim. Rabbi Akiva would have said it's Tameh. The Chacham said it's Torah. So the doctors came in to check if according to Rabbi Akiva it's going to become Tameh. That's the end of the story. What does it say? That they just checked it and they said it's not even one shedra from one mace. That means that it was from two masons, but it wasn't from one mace. If it would have been from one mace, then it would have been tamei. That means that a shedra alone is tamei. If you have to have a gulgolus also, then that should have been the reason. They should have said it's not even one shedra of a gulgolus. It's mashma that one shedra would have been tamei. It's just a question that it wasn't. And they said they didn't find one shedra from the same mace. Time of the now the Gemara takes over. Time of the leka shedra, the mechada. The only reason why I said it's Torah is because it was not one spine from one mace, ha'ika, but if there would have been, shedra, gulgolus, if it would have been either a shedra or gulgolus from one mace, then it would have been problematic. Don't you see that a shedra alone is tummy? Shedra, gulgolus. Again, to the same way that it's only tummy. It's tummy even if you have either one. You don't have to have both. So the Gemara says it's not right to that either. So that's the second right the Gemara brought, and the Gemara again rejects it. Let me buy a comma. When the doctor said it's not,
what was the Shema Mina?
You see, either not you need either one alone is tummy.
Either one is tummy.
Right, even the shedra alone is tummy. Not that you have the shedra vigor golus. The shedra vigor tummy. And then the Ami boy is going to be the rejection. It's not approved. Really,
Tanan.
Where?
Tanan.
Where do you have Tanan?
After the word goes.
Shedra golus Tanan. Yeah, the Mishnah.
That's part of the.
Yes, part of the Shema Mina. That you see that either the Mishnah means to say either shedra or we have our Mishnah said shedra vigor golus, and the question is what does that mean? Shedra ogul golus Tanan. Shedra ogul golus Tanan. So this is a raya that Shedra ogul golus Tanan, that the Mishnah means to say either one is tamei. And the Gemara rejects the proof. Let me buy a comment. It can mean that the doctors over there said that it goes without saying. Means really it's only tamei if it has a shedra vigor golus. And they said they didn't find anything to be tamei. Let me buy a shedra vigor golus. Then you may say they said surely there's not even one set of a spine and a skull. We didn't even find a spine of one mace. Not that would have been the kover, that if they found the spine of one mace, it would have been tamei. They just said we didn't even find one spine. But it wouldn't have been tamei. Only if what?
It's not a proof.
It's not a proof. It's not a proof that if it had a whole spine, it would have been tamei. Instead, we didn't even find one spine. And if you would have found one spine, no. You have to have a spine and a skull together, and they didn't even find one spine. So surely it's not. So again, it's no rise there. Try number 3. Tashma. Miminyana. Let's bring a proof from the number. We said in the number over there, it said before that there were 6 machlokes in Rabbi Akiva and Rabbanan. Rabbi Akiva said that it's tamei. Rabbanan said that it's toha. And it says there are 6. Let's bring it right from the number, from the number, from the minyan, from the number. It says in the Brisa, what are the 6 machlokes that Rabbi Akiva says tamei and Rabbanan say toha? So here goes the list. So we're going to count 6. The first one is Aleva men ames, Shabbat Mishnei Mason. The halach is Eva men ames is tamei ba'ohel. We had that in the Mishnah. Eva men ames, Eva men achai. It has to have enough basar that it should be able to karoy. But there's such a thing as Eva men ames. But what if you have Eva men ames? That's a combination of 2 mason. That is not an Eva shalom. It's a chatzi Eva. But you have a chatzi Eva of Reuben's corpse and a chatzi Reuben. So that's going to be machlokes. Rabbi Akiva says tamei, even though it's a combination of 2 mason. That one will say Torah. Number 2, Eva men achai shabbat mishnei bnei adam. We said Eva men achai is also tamei, like amputated limb, and that's tamei ba'ohel. How about if it's not a whole Eva men achai? It's not a whole limb. You have to have two halves, and the 2 halves are from 2 different people. If it will be 2 halves of the same person, so then it's tamei. But how about Eva men achai from 2 different people? Also machlokes. Rabbi Akiva says tamei. One say Torah. The third case. Al chatzi kavat salmos shabbat mishnei mason. We said that a chatzi kavat salmos is enough. A chatzi kavat is talking about nazirus. We said that regular tumasol, there's even a rove of a cup, even a quarter of a cup. For a nazir, it has to be a chatzi cup. But whatever it is, how about if it's a combination of 2 different people? If you have a chatzi kavat salmos from one mace Tamei Bova. What if it's a combination of two mason that make up the Chatzi Kav? Machlokes, or the Kiva will say Tamei, Rabbana will say so. Number 4, Al-Revias Dam Shabom Mishnayim, that we said also Revias Dam. This is talking about a regular mason, usually by a Timasol Revias Dam by nazir, it has to be a Chatzi Lug. It's a little bit of a question. It says Chatzi Kav and it says Revias Dam. It should have spoken about either Chatzi Kav, Chatzi Lug, or Revias Kav, Revias Lug. That's a question. How come one thing talks about a nazir's shear, one time it talks about a mace, a regular Timasol. But anyway, it says here that if you have a Revias Dam that is not a whole Revias from one root, it's two masons combined. So again, people will say Tamei, one will say Tam. How much were we holding it already? That was 4. Everyone a mace,
Dam
everyone
was
a chai,
4.
Chatzi Kav, Revias Dam. Now, I'll let some kisorish and nechlak
That's
l'shnayim.
5.
That's number 5. That the shear is etzem kisor, to touch it, not oil, but magro masa, even a bone the size of a barley. So according to Bakiva, if it was divided, it sounds like it's divided, even if it wasn't from the same mace, maybe Bakiva will say tamei, or Rabbanan will say torah. That's fine. Now it says shed river golas. What is that?
Sounds like 6. You
Sounds
need
like
2 of them
6.
for 6.
So if Shedra Golas is going to be separate, Shedra,
That's
all of
7.
it, that's 7. And it says here there's 6. And I count Shedra Golas. There's already, before that we counted already 5. And plus Shedra Golas is going to be 7. It must be that each one, that together, only together. So the first two proofs we brought were trying to prove that it was each one separate. But this third proof is trying to prove that it's not put together. And the Gemara is going to say a terrace, which futurism. The Gemara is going to say a futurism for this. All of them might seem dochak. All of them might say
They said 6, but they meant 7.
no. That's not so
I
good.
can't say that.
You have to do better than that.
They said 6, but they meant at least 6.
Also pretty hard. Like the Gemara is going to say that one of them that we counted shouldn't be counted. The Gemara is going to say one of the 5 that we counted, take out 1.
Oh,
And there's going to be 4 choices which one to take off. Well, I think. But this is part of the kasha. If you think that they're separate, each one is tamei shedra over, then it should have counted 7. Here goes the answers. Kikatani. Now I was going to say, let's give you a siman, a mnemonic to remember the 4 truths coming up. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Yachid shehu gilach lechad. I'm not sure what it is, but here goes the terutzim. Try to mark them over here.
Yachid shehu was one of them.
I think there's 4 coming up, so I think that
1,
I
2, 3, 4.
didn't pay attention to what they are, but here goes the first one. Here's the first evidence. Kol heicha. What's the teretz going to be? That really there should Golos is separate, either one alone. We're going to answer. We're rejecting. The Gemara's what about Golos is 1. We're going to say no. Really, Golos is separate, so it's 2. So it should be 7.
2, yeah.
So I have 7. So we're going to take off something. So what is it? Kol heicha the pligale rabin. We're only listing the things that the Chachamim argue, majority argues against Rabbi Akiva. But there's one of them that the Rabbim don't argue on. So that wasn't in the list. Even though it mentions it, but that's not on the list of the account. The case of Etzem Kisora, which was number 5, I think. Etzem Kisora was number 5. So don't count that in the list because only an individual argues on Rabbi Akiva. It's not the Chachamim against Rabbi Akiva. It's going to be a right that only a Yachid argues on him. The Tanya, Etzem Kisor Shenechla Tishnayim, if you have a bone the size of a barley which is divided in half, Rabbi Akiva Matami, Rabbi Yochanan Menui Matayim. Oh, only Rabbi Yochanan Menui. It doesn't say Rabbi Chachamim Matayim. It says Rabbi Yochanan Menui. So that's that's not in the list. When we say there are 6 machlokim, so it didn't list. So this one, according to the first teretz, if you go back, we're going to count Shedra. I'm sorry, mess over here. We're going to count Shedra Golas as 2.
When it says the Yachid, it means one person.
Right.
It has to be Rabbi Akiva.
No, it's Rabbi Akiva against the Chachamim. It has to be
Rabbi
Chachamim arguing. In those cases here it says there are 6 things. What did it say before? Shisha Dvam Rabbi Akiva Matan Chachamim Matan. So when we get to Etzem Kisor, we have to put in parentheses because it's over there. It's not Chachamim Matan over there. So they want to throw it in, but it's not part. The Bryce throws it in, but it's not on the list because over there the Chachamim Matan only Rabbi Menui is Matan. So we'll count the list and we'll make Shedra Golas to be 2, and it's 4, 5, 6. Nice. And Etzem Kisor is not listed. That's the first teretz. Okay. Next teretz. Take out Eber Menachai. It was a mistake. They put an Eber Menachai. Let's put this out. Parentheses. Eber Menachai doesn't belong there.
Eber Menachai, no Katan.
Right.
What did it say?
We say take out Eber Menachai. Take out Eber Menachai. Take it out. It's not on the list. Over there, they don't argue. Well, either Akiva doesn't. Whatever the case is going to be, that's not in the list. Take it out. So that's why each of the goals can count as 2. And the third teretz. Where's that?
Okay, and there's no shehu there. I don't see why that.
What
would be-
shehu? So probably it needs fixing up. Then you're right. I don't see a shehu. Let's see more.
I think
I don't know what all of that mean. Tell you the truth, I don't.
Maybe it has to do with.
Maybe
hachad.
I'm making a mistake. Maybe the sim wasn't for these 4 terusim. I don't see it. Let's see more and see if we can go back to the simulator.
Okay.
So Iboy Sema, don't take out. It only says Evan Mesa, it doesn't say Evan Achai. Iboy Sema, teres number 3. Kikatani kalecha de nazir magal. Oh, it does make sense. Kalecha de nazir magaleh halahilo. Lafuki esem kisora the low. Take out esem kisora again, but not because Rabbi Yochanan is the not because of that teretz that there's only a Yochad arguing on him, but because it doesn't have tumas ohel. We're only talking about tumas ohel, and esem kisora is not tumas ohel. Even though there's a machlokus over there about touching etzem kisora shenechlach l'shnayim, but that's not have to do with tumas ohel. Lafuki esem kisora the low, it doesn't have tumas ohel. We're not talking about that. So 2 reasons to take out esem kisora. Iboy sema. The Gemara is going to show now that Rabbi Akiva, all these things Rabbi Akiva said Tameh and the Chum said Toha. But they said before that Rabbi Akiva was Hadaveh. Where did it say that before? Rabbi Akiva. It says before, the Bryce when it was quoted, it said Rabbi said 6 things Rabbi Akiva, Tameh, and Chum said Toha. And Rabbi Akiva retracted. And it brings 6 things. But the Gemara is going to say now, the Gemara is going to prove that Rabbi Akiva did not retract from one of them. So we're going to put Revias down. This one's going to go in parentheses. According to this last teretz, this one of Revias Dam is going to be in parentheses because Rabbi Akiva didn't retract this one. How does it go? Evman Ameis, Evman Achai, Chatzi Kav, Atzamos, Etzem Kisora, Shedra, Gogolas, 6. But take out Revias Dam because over there Rabbi Akiva stays this opinion, doesn't give in. And we're only listing the 6 things that Rabbi Akiva gave in. And now the Gemara is going to go to prove that Rabbi Akiva didn't give in about this one. The Amar lay Rebbe Labakapara. Rebbe said to Bakapara, Lo Sishna Revias Dam B'Chazara. Don't list Revias Dam in the case of the ones that he retracted, because he didn't retract. Rabbi Akiva didn't retract. He tells even the Maskana that Revias Dam from 2 mason does combine to make Tumas Ohel. Shavei Lumudish Rabbi Akiva b'yado. He has a drasha. He has a drasha, and he still holds grease with. He didn't back down. Or the Mikra Messiah. There's a pasuk. The drasha that he says makes a lot of sense, and the drasha is Va'al Kol Nafshos Meis Lo Yavo. We dashed this before. Nafshos is plural. Nafshos Meis Lo Yavo. The more dashing that to tell you that even if it comes from 2 nefashos, even if it comes from 2 mason, and nefesh probably means blood, like you say Ki Adamu nefesh. So there's a drasha. So Rabbi Akiva didn't back down from that. The Brisa continues. That's the interesting, very interesting thing. But it says the same thing. Rabbi Shimon also says that Rabbi Akiva did not retract, but he said it a little sharper. Rabbi Shimon Omer Ad Yomav Hayim Tameh. Any of that. As long as he was living, Rabbi Akiva, as long as he was living, he didn't retract. He said that it's Tameh, which is the same thing as Rabbi said. Rabbi said he wasn't Chozabo, but Rabbi Shimon said as long as he was living, he wasn't Chozabo. Any of that. If he retracted after his death, I don't know. Which
How
is
do you retract after your death?
how could you do that? So that's a little bit sarcastic.
I see.
And he had charata that he said it that way. Tana hushchu shinda b'pnei Tani Yosef. That Rabbi Shimon, even though he said a sharp remark, but he had remorse that he spoke that way, and he fasted many times. He fasted many fasts. I don't know who is it a chutzpah, to who is it not, who is it disrespectful to speak like that? That he said, Rabbi Akiva, what's disrespectful? He said, I don't know if Rabbi Akiva was chozabo after he died, but in his lifetime he didn't. What do you think? Anybody ideas? What's disrespectful about that? Someone says that Rabbi Yashiv, as long as he was alive, he wasn't chozabo. Maybe he was chozabo after his death. I don't know. So is that? So what's this? It's disrespectful. It's saying something about like saying a sharp word.
Yeah.
So it's something. It could be in Shemaim, like now he sees that it's a mistake, you know.
Yeah,
But not that he came to tell us that he. But that's called disrespectful to Rabbi Akiva.
Yeah.
It's just that the speak of Rabbi Akiva that he was. I don't know if he was chozbo after he died, but in his lifetime he wasn't.
Right.
Okay, you see that it's disrespectful.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what the Gemara says. He made many fasts. He fasted many times. Fasted many fasts in order to be to do tshuva. You find that in the Gemara sometimes. That he became, his teeth became black from so many fasts.
Wow.
That his teeth became black. Doesn't say how many times he fasted. So what did we do with all this? We tried to bring, just in short, what did we do? We tried to bring a raya number out. That was the raya number 3, right? Yeah, that's the raya number 3 on the bottom. That it said is 6. We tried to find, and it says 7. If you say should have go this is going to be 2, either one, then it's 7. It must be that they counted as 1. But the one had 4 dichuyim. How is possible to say that something else was listed? Take off the list something else, and therefore it's not a raya. Could be shadid v'gogolis is really 2. But of course, you could have the pashut also. It might be leaning that either one is separate. Could be. Shadid v'gogolis. The more want to be a raya that they're that they're together. This was the 4 dichuyim was the answer that you could say that it's considered separate. Each one alone is matamid. The pashut of the brisa would sound that shadid v'gogolis goes together. That's why it's only 6. If you read the brisa plain, right, that would be the pashut. The pashut of the brisa, the more what a raya that it goes together. It's only time together, which is the kula, and the was matcha could be different. Now it goes raya number 4.
Why do you call it the whole brisa? Iboy Sema can be in a brisa.
What do you mean? I'm sorry, I don't get
Where
it.
did the brisa start? The Tani Etzim. You said the whole thing is a brisa.
I'm not following. From where is the brisa?
I don't know. I thought you said, and then Rabbi Shimon, that's the end of the brisa.
Any of that
That's
period.
part of a brisa.
Yes.
Well, where did the
It
brisa
started
start?
here. The Amalei Bakapara. The Amalei Rebbe Lebakapara.
Mhm.
The Amalei Rebbe Lebakapara. It doesn't say Tanya or anything. It says
I see, but
Rebbe
that's a
told
brisa.
Bakapara. Rebbe is a Tana. Or if maybe Reb Shimon, or say on the side, Reb Shimon, maybe it's for Tana. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't see Reb Shimon. Tosefta. There is a Tosefta over here. It sounds like the whole thing is a Tosefta from Amalei Rebbe Lebakapara. I'm not sure. I can't say for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Toshma. So now we're going for raya number 4. What's our subject? Still the same subject the whole day. If Shedder Gagolas is together or separate. Toshma the Tanya, Beshama Yomu. Robot Samos. So this we had before also in the mission that a robot Samos, a robot cow, a quarter of a cow of bones by nose has to be half a cow. It's Matami Boha. Regular bone, less than that is going to be Matami B'Marka B'Masa, like it's in Kisora. But it's not Matami B'Oha, only if it's a robot Samos. So there's a Machlokas here. And there's going to be Beis Shammai. Maybe I'll try to highlight something over here. There's going to be Beis Shammai, and there's going to be Beis Hillel Omer. Then there's going to be Shammai someplace. Shammai. The Bryce is going to have 3 opinions, and I'd like to put. I think I'm right. I think I'm right. There's going to be something in between that we could put maybe in parentheses. Here's a Yeshua second. I'm not Yeshua. Let's still map it out before we get there. Okay, I think that's how to map it out.
Amar Rabbi Yehoshua before Beis Shammai.
Yeah, the Rabbi Yeshua is going to be about 6 lines that's in parentheses, and we're going to have Beis Shammai, Beis Hillel, and Shammai. And the main point is going to be a Mishnah. There's a Mishnah, but here the Bryce is talking. It's a little bit more elaborate. So it says robot Samos. Robot Samos, means a quarter kava of bone. That's Tami Ba'olam. So there's 3 shittas. There's Beis Shammai, Beis Hillel, and Shammai. Beis Shammai Yomim, robot Samos Benat Samyim, or Mishnayim, or Mishlosha. The fact that we said that the halacha that we said that the quarter kav about samos is tami ba'ohel, if it's from bones, from 2 or 3. That's what it sounds like. Or from bones, or from 2 or from 3. That sounds like it's a condition that it has to be not from one bone alone. If you have a robot samos from 1 bone, it sounds like the Shammai would say that it's not tami ba'ohel. It has to be from at least 2 or 3 bones. You don't have to have more than that. But
If it's a rova, meaning it's a small amount.
Rova means a quarter. Rova, this word rova.
I know it's a quarter of
It's
that.
a quarter of a
That
cup.
amount is a small amount.
It's the
And that's why you
6,
said
yeah.
you need.
No, it's I don't think small or big. A rova is covers this volume of 6 eggs.
Yeah.
And that bones that you have, how many bones have to make up that rova kav in order to become a tame boa? You can have 1 big bone. There are some bones in the body that are very big.
Yeah.
And you can have 1 bone that's going to be a rova kav. So Bashami says, no, that wouldn't be tame boa. It has to be at least from 2 or 3 bones.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be from many bones. It has to be at least from 2 or 3. I think it's a pshat. They still argues. They say rova min agvia, may rova binyan or rova binyan. That a rova also is going with the rova kav, from the main part of the body. Gvia means a body, and it means it has to be a quarter kav that comes from the body, from the main. I don't know what to say. Not the main essence of the body. That he gives a choice: rov binyan or rov minyan, most of the structure, or most of the count. which sounds like he's saying much more leniency than according to Beis Shammai. Beis Shammai says if you have 2 or 3 bones, from one bone it's not going to become tummy. 2 or 3 bones, but they still seem to say that it's not going to become tummy only if the combination of bones are from bones that are rov binyan or rov minyan. Rov binyan means most of the structure, and the Gemara says what rov binyan means. What does rov binyan mean? Most of the structure, and minyan means most of the count. We know that there are 248, so 125 is going to be most of the count. So if you have bones, let's do the rov minyan first. If you have bones that comprise at least 125 of the limbs, you might have a small piece of each bone, because it might be a baby, it might be a small baby that died, and you have the bones, skeleton, and you have 125 different parts. Not that you have to have the whole 125
bones from different limbs.
Right, from different limbs, right, from different bones, from different limbs.
Yeah.
You have to have rov. So the rov akav has to.
You have to have both together.
Yes,
I thought it was or minion or.
right, but about a rov minyan,
Oh,
I think that you have to have the rov minyan of the whole bone, or the whole bones. But here you're having a piece of each of the bones, and the reason why it's telling me is because rov akav. But rov akav is only because of the quantity of the volume, not the quantity of the number, but the volume. But it's a condition that it has to be from rov of the number. The din that rov bin, that's because you have those bones, you have the whole bones. And that is also rov binyan, which means most of the structure. So it seems to be that according to Beis Shammai, he's machmir that once it's from 2 or 3 mason, 2 or 3 bones, it's enough to be tamei because of rov akav. Beis Shammai still says it has to be either from rov binyan or rov minyan. Then it's going to be rov akav. Rabbi Yeshua comes to say that there's no real machlokus between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. This goes for 6 or 7 lines. Rabbi Yeshua, I could reconcile Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, they're not arguing. Both of them are saying, both of them agree to each other. What does it mean Mishlayim Mishlosha? He means from rov binyan. He's going to say a pshat right away. That's going to explain that Beis Shammai, in other words, if you say it in different terminology, you would see Beis Shammai said rov binyan and Beis Hillel said or rov minyan. And everybody agrees that either one is good enough. Both of them are saying you have to have something that's significant in the body, which is either going to be most of the structure or most of the count of the bones. And Beis Shammai said an example of 2 or 3, which is more going to explain. It doesn't mean any 2 or 3 bones. It means you have to have rov binyan, and it's going to explain in a second what's called rov binyan. And Beis Hillel is saying rov minyan also is good enough. Here it goes. What does it mean when Beis Shammai says 2 or 3? Mishnei o mishnei shokayim v'yerech echad, o mishnei yerechayim v'shok echad. Hoil v'rov govo shel adam. They said the word should be b'binyan. Now migova. I'm sorry, rov minyan. This word they changed. Rov govo, the first one, the aleph, they changed it to rov binyan shel adam b'gova. That when we say rov binyan, what does rov binyan mean? Most of the structure. So he says most of the structure means of the height. What comprises most of the height of a human being? So it says the thighs and the shok, the yarech and the shok. The yarech is the thigh, which means the bone above the knee, and the shok is the knee. What do they call the shok? The calf bone, which is beneath the knee. Those are the 2 bones. The yarech is above the knee, what we call the thigh, and the shok is below the knee, which is called the shin or the calf. So when Beis Shammai says 2 or 3, he means to say that. It means to say, he didn't mean any 2 or 3 bones. 2 or 3 bones of Beis Shammai also know that's not enough. It has to be from the rov binyan. Why is it called rov binyan? Because there are 2 or 3 bones that would be enough to comprise most of the height of a man. Why is that? Because if you have 2 thighs and a calf, that's called rov binyan. Or if you have 2 calves and a thigh, that's called rov binyan. And he calls that 2 or 3. And Beis Hillel is coming to say, Beis Hillel, Menagvia, Omer Robinyan, Hol V'yeshna with Mifrikei Yadayim V'Raglayim. In Mifrikei Yadayim V'Raglayim, the hands have a lot of bones. The shok, the thigh, and the calf is big bones, and that's only a bone. Each one is a bone. The thigh is a bone, the shok is a bone. And the hand, the Gemara says in the hand alone, there are 30 limbs. When you count 248, each hand has 30. And the foot also is 30. Wow. There are a lot of joints. Each one has a different aver. So just the hands and the feet alone, not the whole arm and leg. The hands and the feet alone is going to be 120. It's almost 120.
120 if you have all.
Right, so you have to have a couple of more losses to make 125.
Right.
But it's called that you can get rove minion in a very small
Even
amount.
without the height.
Without height, right? So
rope
there's
of the height.
right. You don't need rove of the height. You just need rove minion or rove minion. So far, I'm not really sure. So that's pretty much in parentheses. It's not our subject so much. We don't need this. But he just explained Bishamai still are reconcilable. Both of them mean to say the same thing. Bishamai says rove minion. He still says rove minion is also good enough, and they're not arguing. Now comes the third shita. This is all extra credit. Now we go to the third shita. What are we looking for? We're going to know about Shedra V'Golgolas. Shammai Omer, Afilu Esem and Shedra Omer L'Golgolas. That's the end of the Tosefta, and it seems to say Omer L'Golgolas. So he seems to say that even one bone is enough. So far, we had many extremes, 2 or 3, rove minion, but nobody said that one is good enough. One bone, we can have. Now he's coming to tell you that didn't have rove Barkav. And what does he say? That rove Barkav, even from the Shedra bone or the Golgolas bone. So it sounds, what does it sound like? That he looks at Shedra and the Golgolas as separate. We're not talking about that it has the whole Shedra. If it has the whole Shedra, you don't have to come on to rove Barkav. But it says it's Mina Shedra, Mina Golgolas. And the Gemara thinks to hear from him that the Shedra and the Golgolas are called separate bones. Each one alone is tummy. The reason why it has this chomer that a rove Barkav from the Shedra or the Golgolas is enough seems to be because it would have been, if it would have been the whole Shedra or the whole Golgolas, it would have been tummy because of Shedra Golgolas. And I was saying that for the din of rove Barkav, it's enough to be even from one bone. But if you'd hold that you have to have the Shedra and the Golgolas, then it wouldn't make sense. That would make the chumrah that a rove Barkav is going to be enough from the Shedra or Golgolas. It's a unit, it goes together. The Shedra and Golgolas has to be together. So I think that's the Gemara's proof that it sounds that Shammai holds that the Shedra or the Golgolas alone is ready Tamei Ba'ohel. So it's that the Gemara has a proof to the question. So we're not talking about rove Atzamas. We're talking about the Shedra and Golgolas. It's the fact that he says that there's a chumrah of rove Barkav when it's part of the Shedra or part of the Golgolas. It sounds like the Shedra and Golgolas don't go together. It's not a unit. It's each one separate. The Gemara answers, Shani Shammai the Machmir. What does that mean? Maybe only Shammai holds like that? And the Rabbanan Taka argue? This I didn't get straight. Maybe we could look at Taisus over here. If we can read it together, I didn't get this straight yet. Shammai Yom Rafilu Etzem Echad Min Hashem because Al Kedai thought to come Shammai Etzem Echad that he's Machmir more than the Rabbanan. He would hold like that, but the Rabbanan won't agree with him. He did find, maybe I'll see it first because I'm not happy with, I don't really know what he's saying.
He's saying that they don't have to combine, right?
Right, and each
That
one will
sounds
only
like
be
a
Tamei. No, it's Tamei by itself. What do you mean? He was saying what's Tamei Ba'ohel.
Oh, it's tummy by itself.
Yeah, when the one who says Shedra Golgolas is more common than the one who says that Shedra Golgolas. So what it says, Shammai Etzem Echad Min Shedra Omer Golgolas with Tamei Ba'ohel. Mechlal the Rabbanan they can be low Etzem Echad Min Shedra Omer Golgolas with Tamei. Shedra Gufa, Golgolas Gufa with Tamei. Afilu Ha'ilachudei, Va'ilachudei. The Mashmalei the Lopsigi. This was the Gemara's kasha that they're only arguing about this thing about the rove Barkav. And what does the Gemara answer? Lopsigi Ela Al Hai B'Shamai Etzem Echad M'Shedra B'Seva Binan Shedra V'Golgolas V'Dach Shammai the Machmir the Rabbanan Binan Tavayu. I think that's what the Gemara is saying. You're right that according to Shammai you do see that the Shedra and Golgolas are separate and each one alone is Tamei. But maybe the Rabbanan argument and say that you have to have both. So now the Gemara says, if so, to bring a raya to the opposite.
Can I ask a question here?
Yes, please.
On the Tanya, whatever this is.
Where is it, Tanya?
What we just did with the 3 opinions.
Tashmi, yes, right.
So it's 2 questions really. One is, isn't Shammai the teacher of Beis Shammai? So why wouldn't he be first? And how can Beis Shammai go against the Rebbe Shammai?
So there are many Mishnayos in Edios that have a list of one after the next. It always goes by Shammai, Beisilva, and Shammai. It's many Mishnayos, not only one, many Mishnayos. And there's a sefer that's called Those Who Shonen from Yitzchak Isaac Halevi, who was like a big historian. And Rabbi Miller is based on him. And Dr. Kamenetsky said he's a paragon of the Jewish history. And he talks about that, and he says that the Shammai were not the Talmidim of Shammai. Beis Shammai was the main Beis Medrash.
He was the what?
The main base medrash was
The
Beis
main
Shammai,
base
Beis Medrash was
medrash
called,
was-
and then when they came with, there was a Roman edict, they had to disband like the Sanhedrin, and
Uh-huh.
and it says that Beis Shammai, the people of Beis Shammai were not his Talmidim, they were even older than him, and it was they were the Zikanim, and many times you find machlokes between Shammai and Beis Shammai. I can look at more details, but he makes the question and he points out that there's a long.
It's not like their time thing.
Right, it's not his Talmidim. That's not his Talmidim.
Okay.
Right. I don't have the details to answer the question, but it's spoken about at length, and it's a nice
Okay,
point.
this is the
nice
first time
point.
I've seen it, but you're saying it comes
Right.
up a lot.
I think there's a list of Mishnayos over there. You look at Mishnah and Edios over there, probably in this area over there, and Perek Vav, Mishnah Gimel over there.
Uh-huh.
I could look at it after we finish, and I think you'll have one after the next. Beis Shammai, Beis Hillel, Shammai. Okay. So back to the Gemara. So the Gemara thinks that Shammai here it says Shedra Ogagolas. It's right. Each one alone is Tamei. The Gemara says maybe only Shammai, but other Rabbanan argue, and the other ones. חמש דקות. דחילו את ההתחלה של השיעור. אז מסיימים. So maybe it's Beis Shammai holds that either one is Tamei. So now, but the Shani Shammai Demach, but the Rabbanan will say that's Taketor, that the only Tamei if they're together. The only Tamei, both of them are together. So the one takes that aside. Okay, so that's the machlokus. There should be no time of the Beis Shammai, the Machmer, Rabbanan Adika Shedra Golas. So bring a proof to opposite. Say that's what they're arguing about. The reason why Shammai says it's Tamei is because he holds each one separate. And the Rabbanan say that you have to have both of them in order to be Tamei. The more is mounted. I'm going to go over this again tomorrow, but just to read the words. Lo, ad kan laplig Rabbanan leidi Shammai ela be'asem echad asim min hashedra min hagagolas. Aval echad diisei be'enei afilu chada min hom. That it could be that the machlokus over there is not if a shedra and a gagolas alone is Tamei. That's how machlokus. Everybody holds that a shedra they also might agree that a shedra alone is Tamei, a gagolas alone is Tamei. But this halach we're talking about robot samos, that is a bone that came from the shedra and the gagolas. Now we're coming to the tumah of robot samos, not the tumah of shedra and gagolas. So it could be that there they hold you have to have the shedra and the gagolas. But if you have the shedra alone, the whole shedra alone, the whole gagolas alone, could be they also would hold that it's Tamei. And that's the end of the Gemara. I'll go over it again tomorrow because I was a little shaky over here. But what happened was that the whole sugya today was when it says Shedra B'Gagolos, does it mean both? And that's a kula. Well, each one separate is Tamei. Well, and the Gemara bought 4 rice, I think. How many rice did we have? 4 rice. The Gemara bought 4 rice, none of them worked. And the Gemara, that's the end of the Gemara. Sugi's over. New sugi starts tomorrow. And Rambam paskins that either one alone, or Shedra over Golas, and the Meforshim asks, where does he get it from? The Gemara doesn't know, so why does he say? He doesn't say like a suffix. He says that it's Tamei. So that's a question the Meforshim asks. Where does Rambam get it from? But the Rambam paskins, O Shedra over Golas, either one.
Like Shammai.
Like Shammai, and nobody argue, and not what the Gemara says. It could be that one and argue. That the Gemara leaves open. The Gemara doesn't know, and he's taking a side.
A machmir side.
Machmir side like this. They saying Beis Shammai surely holds like that. But it could be Rabbanan also agree. The Gemara is not going to. Rambam wouldn't pass like him because of Beis Shammai. The Rambam is passing because Rabbanan also are going to agree. How does he know that? The Gemara doesn't know. So that's left over. Okay, Yashikor, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Done.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Now it's nice and warm.